This is Your Pain Game podcast, where we talk about the game of living in and with chronic pain and trauma, getting to the heart of how to heal. I am your host, Lyndsay Soprano. On this show, I plan on discussing with doctors, chronic pain patients, holistic practitioners, loved ones, and anybody that is interested in having their voice heard in the chronic pain and trauma world that we live in. I used to be a super athletic, active little chick that was thrilled with my body. I wasn't ever like this buff, like workout person, but I was always happy with my body, even though I ended up being a little curvy and a little heavy down the road in my life, kind of in between what's happened to me and diagnosis, obviously, because I'm not curvy and chubby anymore. And I want that body back to a certain extent. But until trauma after trauma after trauma just kept stacking up on me, and then I was diagnosed with CRPS, I kind of like lost my compass. And that's really hard for me because I always felt very in control and very in control of my life and very in control of the places that I was going to go and the relationships I was in and my money and my life and my business and da 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 da. And then I'm diagnosed with this and then went through that nasty divorce that I've talked about. And I'm just like this 24-hour-a-day stress ball, you know? And I am trying to figure out how to find my compass again. And it's kind of a strange thing because my sweetie and I have this thing, we just started to collect compasses is like, I don't know, like 2 years ago, because we have this saying between the two of us that we are each other's true north. And so I've kind of leaned on like these really old compasses that I've bought for him and I get them engraved and I'm that kind of a gifter, you know? And it's a reminder to me to have those compasses in places throughout our home as the fact that I do have them and I have people in my life that can help guide me as well, especially when it comes to trauma. And so it's kind of like finding this new compass is a trauma-informed compass. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, along with stress and some pain care aware language and holding space and something called the body brand nation and getting the hell away from it. So we're going to talk with that with my guest. And so anyways, I can blab and blab about compasses and true north and all of that. But without further ado, I would like to introduce you today to my guest, Ericka Thomas. Hi, Ericka.
Hey, Lyndsay. Good to see you.
It's good to see you again. Thank you for being here with us today. She is self-stated a highly caffeinated coach of Savage Grace Coaching. It's her own coaching firm. She's a course creator, a yoga teacher, a trauma release exercise provider. She also has a podcast she's the host of called the Work In podcast, which she's going to talk about as well. Her podcast is devoted to mentorship and professional perspectives to help fitness professionals and wellness educators who want to set themselves apart using a trauma-sensitive approach to getting lasting results for their clients and avoid burnout. Which seems to be a word we are using a lot of these days is burnout. And also this trauma-informed approach to care and this trauma release. I love this about her. And I love that really supports a lot of what we talk about here on this show. So I want to get the trauma out of our nervous systems and I want to get started today here with Ericka. So I'm rolling out the red carpet for you, babe.
Awesome. Well, let's get started.
Yeah, let's do it. I'd like to start by talking with you about the trauma in the nervous system, part of what you do and your role that plays in fitness from your perspective and what you mean when you talk about it's time to stop working out and to start working in. And I love that because we all have these different viewpoints on like exercising and working out and what our fitness levels are all about and all these crazy classes that are out there and all of these things that are out there and that kind of scare you about working out. And so let's get started with that.
Yeah. So most people, when they go to start working out or go to the gym or start, thinking about becoming healthy, like the idea there is that you are going to go and exercise, you're going to go move, you go get a coach, you show up in classes. And for many people, their motivation for that, yes, is some sort of physical adaptation. They want to change something about their physical body on the outside. Right. But another piece that people really look for out of their exercise that they do on a regular basis, part of that is stress relief too. More and more so now, with this kind of mental health epidemic that we are experiencing. If it's not number one on the list, it's a close second. So for me, in my history working in the fitness industry, I came from a place of a lot of like no pain, no gain. When you step into the gym, it's all out, balls to the wall. Like,
Yeah.
if it doesn't hurt, then it's not doing what it's supposed to do for you, and things like that. I never saw it as something that would relieve stress, actually. And there's a reason for that, because it wasn't actually relieving stress. When you exercise like that, you're adding another stressor to your nervous system. And I got to the point where I had some physiological dysfunction that was coming up in my body that seemed to be completely out of the blue, unrelated to anything else. And it was all centered in my gut. And at the time, I didn't understand the connection between your gut and the nervous system and all of the other systems in the body, and how if you approach movement in a dangerous way, the body reads it as a dangerous thing.
Sure.
So, right, exactly. So, but that's how I was taught. That's how all fitness was really taught. It was like, go hard or go home. And what it came down to for me is that I was looking for, became interested in this whole world of PTSD and healing trauma, because my family comes out of a military background. And it was through that teacher training that came through a yoga background that I realized that, soldiers aren't the only ones that are experiencing trauma. And maybe I'm actually traumatizing myself by behaving in this way. And maybe I'm traumatizing my students by treating them this way. And is there a way that we can get the kind of fitness and wellness results that we're looking for without traumatizing or re-traumatizing or triggering that sympathetic nervous system response that's taking people up over the edge when they leave the room? So that's where this whole thing started for me. And I really wanted to give people, my students, a way to really kickstart recovery in that understanding of how the nervous system works. The magic there in looking for resilience is more about how you can pull back away from that challenge and then come back into the challenge, that change in state. And I wanted to give my students a way to do that in all different kinds of formats, because I taught a lot of things. I still do. I teach a lot of different formats, from yoga to martial arts based to boot camp style metabolic training and spin classes. So everything, like across the intensity level. But all of those things come through the nervous system into the body. And if you look at your format of how you're moving and approach it from a place of changing the nervous system state, like, I want to change the state of the nervous system. I want to be able to activate my nervous system, and I want to be able to calm the nervous system. I don't want to just stay up in this activated state all the time, because outside of the room, outside of that class, outside of that workout, I'm already activated all the time. So if you want relief there, you have to find a way to get it within those exercise parameters that we think of. And so that's where all of this has, kind of how it got started for me.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I was never like a gym rat kind of a gal. I was always in dance, and I was in theater, and I was into yoga. And I mean, I did like skiing, hiking, biking stuff, but I was never a gym person. Like I tried the personal trainer. I tried all that stuff. It just was not for me. Everybody knows, because everybody's been in a damn gym. I mean, I don't care who you are, even if it's once, you always see the angry guy like running on the treadmill. some dumb chick like throwing a kettlebell and it hits the mirror behind them. Like, we've seen these people that are just like almost like they're there fighting for their lives, and we don't know what's going on in everybody's skulls while they're doing these things. And sometimes you can see like, man, like, what happened to you?
Right.
What happened to you that is making this like vicious, hardcore, like unbelievably difficult way to exercise and actually harm your body, to your point. Where is that coming from?
Right. And some of it is a different understanding of what it takes to get the results they're looking for, right? Some of it also comes from this body brand nation idea that you have to look a certain way in order to be healthy. And part of it comes from kind of this internalized adversarial relationship that we have with our own body. A lot of people really are not comfortable in their own skin, with or without some kind of chronic pain issue going on. Like, we're just not comfortable being in our own body. And so what that does is it sets you up in this fight or flight, but fight or flight within yourself. And so when you're going into an exercise, you can be in a state where you're not really sensing what the body is telling you. And so it requires more in order to feel something. So, you're either fighting yourself, or you're fighting what you think your body can or should be able to do. Like, I should be able to do this, so I'm going to make myself do this. Or it is you're at a place where you've lost the connection to that area of your body, whether it's hips, whether it's, neck, shoulders, back, whatever it is, and you cannot feel it the way it wants you to be able to feel it. I mean, we can blow past the sensations that our body sends us so quick. And if we do that too often, the body stops talking to us. So it's just like your best friend, right? If you're in a relationship with another person and you're constantly talking over them and you never listen and you never let them speak and you can't hear what they say, eventually they're going to stop calling you. So they're going to turn away. It's the same thing. It's this inner relationship with the body. And that's where, the idea of stopping the work out, or you're pushing to change the outside of yourself, or how you look in the gym, or how you look to the world, and turn into that inner relationship when you are moving, so that you can build some awareness, right? So we build up this friendly relationship within the body, so that when you go for a walk, whether you go for a walk or whether you go to the gym for your exercise, if you're going for a walk, you can feel the soles of your feet, and you can feel how that breath comes in and out of the body, and you can be present with it. And even if something is a little bit sore, you can still be sore and feel safety. Maybe there might be something that's painful. Like, I don't know. I mean, I have something hurts all the time in my body. So it's just change the day and it's something new, right? So if something hurts. So pain doesn't necessarily mean that there's damage. It is a message. Your body is talking to you, but maybe we need to just pull back a little bit and look at that and ask the question, be curious, like, what are you really trying to tell me, feet? Like,
well, yeah. I mean, I definitely identify, because when it comes to like not feeling inside of your body, or not feeling a part of your body, or a part of your body doesn't feel like you, or feeling uncomfortable in your skin. I never felt that in my life. Like I had mentioned in the beginning of the episode. Now, I don't know who my body is from my hips down. I'm like, huh. But it's really hard when I feel very disassociated. And I feel like my legs just want to run away from my body, or like I have gnarly nightmares about my legs being chopped off. And like, it's just horrible, because I have just this disassociation from my body, but I'm feeling them. I feel the pain that are in them, but I know wholeheartedly, and I say this on pretty much every episode, I know wholeheartedly that this is so much trauma that's caused all of this. And then you add stress components in our life, and eating, and all these other things that are supposed to be working for us. And it kind of stinks, because my body's talking at me and screaming at me, and I'm like, I am trying to do everything that I can, and I just can't make it all fit in the day.
Yeah, totally.
It's challenging.
And when you know that there is some trauma story, that story changes the physical sensations also. What we know now about pain science is it's really different than what we thought. We used to think as instructors and health and wellness that, like, especially in the yoga space, like if you felt pain, that you should stop, you should pull back, you should, listen, quote unquote, listen to your body. And pain means don't go there. And I used to say that at the beginning of yoga classes, like, everywhere else you can go, no pain, no gain, but in yoga, it's no pain ever. That is false too. Like, that's a lie. That's a lie, because everyone, if you are human, you're going to experience some kind of pain at some point in your life. We all do. Like, that's the nature of the body. Pain is a message that originates in the brain from some area of the body that tells you that something dangerous is happening. So it makes sense that if you have experienced trauma in some way that is unresolved and has gotten frozen in time in your body somewhere, that maybe those messages are on a loop, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And that
I believe
totally
that wholeheartedly. Yep.
Yeah. And they can be made worse. That pain sensation is often, and my good friend and mentor, Colleen Jorgensen, she is my teacher as far as pain care aware language goes. She talks about how that pain sensations are attached to some kind of emotion, right? They always go hand in hand. So yeah, I know.
She just looked at my face. I was like, oh
no. Right. But we kind of know this, right? Like, if we're more, like, the more scared you are, the worse the pain feels.
Totally.
Right. So that is an important piece of understanding. And when we tie in things like trauma release, what in my experience is, like, we think we know the story because we know our history. We think we know our history of our body and what it's been like from the moment we first started making memories that we can, consciously remember. So we think we have our history down. And so we think we know where that trauma might be coming from. But the body also has its own story that may not match your conscious story. And so it's really important to be able to work through the body, to give the body pathways to let it go in some way, which is where movement can be helpful. And that whole health and wellness industry can help people to relieve that stress if they understand that they need to give people an opportunity to let some of that stress and tension come out instead of just powering through.
Yes. I always say I'm a bite on the stick chick. I mean, I have to, like, I wake up and I make my cognitive decision about how my day is going to go. And then it's going to go that way, typically. And I'm a high performing chronic pain human being. Like, I don't know how I do it. I really don't. So can you give us an example of, like, when you're teaching and you're doing your classes and you're working with people from this trauma informed, this trauma release, how can you, how do you help people within chronic pain or PTSD or that have all of these stressors that have come in their life? How do you help them to release? Because I find that the best piece for me for release is meditation and yoga. I don't get it from very many other places. Like, I never understood runner's high. Like, you guys are high. You guys are high. And I don't think it's from running. Come on, everybody. All you runners, come out of the closet about this. There is no runner's high. Once and for all, please tell us. No, but you know what I mean? It's like these crazy people that do crazy sports and all these crazy things that they do. And I know that there's a lot of people that there's no pain. There's, from some of the stuff. But I mean, everybody's got an injury. Everybody has some kind of shit that they're pulling from their past that comes into. So what do you do in your practice and in your coaching? Because I know that you help coach other coaches and other wellness health professionals as well. What are some examples of some ways to release trauma through exercise and through movement? Because people that are in chronic pain tend to be a little scared of moving. I'm scared of it, but I still do it because I always say if I don't use them, I'm going to lose them. And that's my leg. So, and my CRPS, it can lead to amputation. So that's in the back of my mind. every moment of my day. That's part of the reason why I have nightmares about somebody coming into my bedroom and cutting my legs off with a chainsaw. It's super healthy. You should see her face and her eyes right now. No, Lyndsay.
That is frightening. It is frightening.
And it's part of the reason why I don't sleep, because I'm like, I don't want to fall asleep.
Right. And all of those thoughts, this is something for everyone to understand. So thoughts like that and nightmares, whether they're, nightmares or just insomnia, issues like that, all of those things just start the big pile on for the nervous system, right? So now you're all ramped up and you're looking for a way out, and you show up to some fitness class because you don't want to name your trauma or anything like that. You just want it to go away. You just want the tension to go away. And we get confused about between exhaustion and release. So, for exercisers, a lot of it is a confusion. Like, if I run, I'll feel better. Really, you're just exhausted and too tired to do anything later, because we don't understand the key piece to the nervous system when you're talking about trauma-informed work or trauma release in general. The secret sauce to all of that is the stop and rest. And so within any format of exercise, if you include permission, number one, language of permission, to allow yourself to stop what it is that you're doing and rest, and then come back in to the movement when you are ready, you begin the process of rewiring and retraining the nervous system in a more resilient way. So we are in any kind of exercise, you can play with your edge of effort, whether that's physical effort or the edge of some kind of emotional effort or mental effort, spiritual effort, any of those things. That's one of the lovely things that is baked into yoga, right? So when we are practicing yoga, it's not that you never feel anything. Like, there's often discomfort in a yoga practice. And you can find your physical edge in pretty much any asana that you are doing, right? And then what do you do with that, right? Do you just push harder into it? Well, you could, right? You could. That there's plenty of yogis out there that do that. Or you could come up to that discomfort and then you could just say hello to it and then back away a little bit. And then we can come back up to it. And that's the same kind of approach that we take in any other format, right? And then that key piece right there, that permission piece. And then from the instructor, the coach, there is a level of curiosity where we're building awareness for clients, for each other and our clients, to be curious about what it is you're feeling. Okay. Because sometimes,
like, where the hell is that coming from? Like, pay attention, be curious. That's a sensation. And there was somebody that I spoke with on another episode, and she talked about, instead of calling it pain, call it a sensation.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have this like negative connotation that comes with it.
Right. And then you get the opportunity, actually, when we work in this pain care aware language, then once you have that, when you're building this curiosity about that, rather than pulling back immediately, maybe you stay right there on that edge. And you're like, okay, there's that sensation again. I'm not sure what that is or where that's coming from, but there might be some things I can do to change that, to shift that. Maybe I can soften some muscles away. Is there a story that came up in my head about that sensation? Is there an emotion that pops? Is it an accurate thought that came into my head right there? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Can I change my breath without moving away from that pain and just watch and see what happens to it? Sometimes we hate being uncomfortable in this society, right? We just instantly make yourself comfortable, take the pill, sit on the couch, whatever it is, make it go away. But the body can do a lot for you. if you give it a second, like just give it a second, give it a second and
What's
take your
that?
time. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So then what do you learn? You learn, okay, well, if I take a nice soft deep breath, oh, that sensation it softened that sensation. And now I don't even know if I could call it pain now. So, that's interesting. And then let's keep going.
Yeah, let's be curious about that. And I think that's really interesting because, like even just now while she was talking to us, darlings, like I like closed my eyes for a second. And I was like deep breathing and I was kind of like tensing my shoulders. My shoulders like up by my ears. And I recognize it because I moved my little outline for us to make sure I was talking about things. And I saw my shoulders up by my ears. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And so I was listening to you. And then and my producer's probably going to listen. I have like all these deep breaths that are coming into my mic because I was kind of like doing it without thinking. It is really one of the reasons why I do love yoga and why I do love the practice of breathing and being curious and all of that. And I stray. There are weeks where I'm so damn busy and I blame it on busyness, and then I'm all pissed off at myself that I didn't do the things that I needed to do for self-care, which I need to do at the top of the list. And I talk about this all the time that I'm much better than I used to, but I'm not perfect. And I still have a lot to learn and a lot of things that I need to change and shift. One of them is going, okay, that was weird. What's going on right now? And why might that be happening? I have to do that with anxiety because I have pretty debilitating anxiety. If I am able to look when I feel that like I get clammy and I get sweaty and my chest feels gross or my heart starts racing or whatever, this panicky anxiety feeling, most of the time when I take a deep breath and I look at myself and I am curious and I absolutely ask myself, what is it, Lyndsay, that is causing this anxiety or this stress or this breathing or this, whatever it is? Most of the time, when I sit and I stop for a second and I rest, which, is a new word in my vocabulary. When I rest and take some inventory and breathe for a second, most of the time, it's probably something pretty stupid. It's like all of this information that's coming at us all the time that we're trying to process. And who knows where there's like this weird something that came in that stressed me out that I had no idea that was a stressor to me. And then when I figure out what that was, I would say 90% of the time, I'm like, why the hell did that stress me out? Like that was not that big of a deal. But if I don't do that, then it just topples on top of each other and it all adds up. And then the next thing you know, it's the biggest stress ball on the planet,
Yeah.
Like, geez Louise.
Yeah, totally. And sometimes you just can't figure out what the stressor was because it's just like, you just feel like this is your life. Like this is the normal. Becomes your normal. And then when those anxiety and panic attacks, come into the body, it's a body memory. It's not a conscious mind memory. Like the body remembers either an emotion or a physical sensation that is the same as something that happened before. And here you are feeling that sensation again, and the body reacts instantaneously to protect you. It's going to make you feel those feelings. It's trying to save your life. And this is the perspective. This is a perspective that maybe needs to be a shift in general for people, is that everything your body does is for you. It's for you. It's trying to adapt to save you and protect you. We don't see it that way because sometimes it's so uncomfortable, so painful sometimes, but even pain itself is a message from the body to get you to stop or change or do something different. And that pain sensation or that anxiety sensation, it happens way in advance, way ahead of any tissue, before any tissue damage would happen, before anything could happen, because it wants you to stop before you get there. Once you just stop, it's afraid. One of the things that I personally had a hard time with is coming to this point where I could love my body for what it did for me. And it took a long time. I work on that all the time because I'm coming from a place where I, always want to make my body do the thing, make it be a certain way. But I don't have to. It's going to do everything I need it to do for me. And that does take time to rebuild that trust. And that's really where trauma-informed work comes in, because that's what we're doing. We are rebuilding trust with our own body systems. And it takes a lot. It takes some time.
I like that you use the word trust in that, because I think in places where we are dealing with people that have PTSD, I mean, I probably have, if I was to be honest with myself, a little bit of it from who knows where and who knows what, because unfortunately, I've been faced with too much that anybody, a lot of people should. And I know there's people that have been through far more than me, but you know what I mean? I think trust is a really important word, and it's something that's going to kind of strike me hard over the next couple hours when we're done here, because that's so crazy. Because this is where I lost my compass, right? Where my body started kind of failing me, and I started feeling like really bad and got really, really sick and lost all of this weight, and my whole life was turned upside down. And I had no path and no way and no guidance and no compass. And now here I am starting to work on trusting my body and trusting the people that are coming into my life, not unlike you, where this true north, this trusting compass of mine that I have to use to navigate through some of this junk that is like here, that I have not truly I'm working on it, man. Like, it's a day-to-day thing. I have not broached some of the issues, some of the things that happened to me, because I never talked about them. I didn't talk about them until I started this show. Like, what? I'm 45 years old. I just started talking about trauma that started when I was 9, 10 months ago. And so I'm like unpeeling all of these different layers and having to trust the messages that are coming from these like open wounds that I thought I had bandaged up well enough and stuffed them down far enough, and now it's like, there's an episode I did with this girl named Amanda Kate, and she's awesome, from Australia. And she did a good example of when you push a beach ball down under the water, and you keep pushing it and you keep pushing it and keep pushing it. As soon as you let it go, it flies up higher than it would have if it was just right below the surface, and it splashes everybody around you. And I was like, I totally have a beach ball down there. I've got like 20.
Well, and you're doing the work, and there's
Yes.
no, I think we feel like we should have all our shit together by the time we're 45. Definitely by the time you're 52, which is my age, I should definitely have it together, figure it out. And I for myself, I feel like every single day, every week, every month, I'm learning something new. I can dig new things out, and then you think, oh, I fixed it.
I'm good.
Right? Like, I'm good. And then,
Woo,
and then the next thing, like, oh, that's what that's from. Okay, that's great.
Okay.
And then there's all the stuff like I mentioned before, all the stuff that the body is holding on to that you don't think is important. We're throwing the word trauma around a lot, and a lot of people think they have certain connotations about what that means. And for many people, they're like, oh, but that's not me. I don't have trauma.
Just because you weren't raped or you weren't beat up or you weren't in the military doesn't mean you don't have trauma.
Yes, exactly. And so, I have examples of that, like things that have happened that I forgotten all about. Like, I had oral surgery when I was in 6th grade. And so when I do trauma release, a lot of that is all in here. Like, I had 9 teeth pulled. So like when I start my tremor, a lot of times it's like teeth chattering, head shaking, my face changes, like all the muscles and the fascia let go of that tension. It's almost like it's reenacting that event. I was not even awake for that. Like, my body remembered that. And after that session, that trauma release session, I was like, that must be from that. I didn't think that was traumatic, but heck, my jaw sure felt traumatized. When someone is drilling teeth out of your head as a child, that's not fun. Even if you're not conscious, right? So
yeah. For sure. And that goes into like a fear-based kind of thing too, as a child, where you're scared. And nobody likes to go to the dentist. Let's be real. But But so can I circle back really quick before, because I know that we're getting close on time, but can we circle back to like some of the modalities that you use to help with some trauma release? Maybe like a couple simple tips that you could give that would work for, a couple of us that, like, even with your jaw, like I know I clench my jaw and I'm always like popping my ears like I'm in a plane. I've always had, but I've had 6 concussions and a lot of that is part of it. Yeah, I know I've been hit on every side of my head. Like I said in the beginning, trauma after trauma after trauma. So can you give us a couple examples of some of those release techniques? Because I think that that's something that we all need.
Yeah. So a couple things. We have actually talked about the breath already, like using that breath, right? So that is something that can be done anywhere you are, right? The breath is the fastest way to tap into the parasympathetic side of your nervous system. Absolutely. So what you need to remember, all you need to remember about it is that we want it to focus on the exhale for calming, right? So if we're calming the system, we can inhale through the nose. You can exhale out the mouth or the nose. And if you want to get really specific with techniques about the breath, I like to offer 2. I offer box breathing, which is a counted breath, like you inhale for a 4 count, hold your breath for 4, exhale for, hold for 4. That's a box breath. And then the other one is a physiologic sigh, or in yoga, sometimes we call it like breath of joy. So you're going to take a big inhale and then a quick extra inhale to really fill the lungs, and then sigh out the mouth, just completely sigh out the mouth. And you can do a few rounds of that. That interrupts that anxiety, sympathetic nervous system activation, just like that.
I love that.
So those are 2 really easy anywhere kind of things. The second one I would recommend would be actual trauma release. So there's a lot of trauma release providers around the world. It is a global thing. And you can go to their website, which I believe is traumaprevention.org, and find a list of trauma release providers in your area. I like to use trauma release itself, the actual tremor exercise, as part of final relaxation at the end of yoga, and sometimes at the end of other types of classes as well. And so what that type of exercise does is it just gives the body a release valve into the natural tremor response. So you let the body shake. This is something that most of the time we don't want to do as adults. Like we're like, okay, my body's shaking. That must be something wrong with me.
Yeah. Like, am I having a seizure? What's happening here?
Exactly. Exactly. But really, that's a very natural response to stress. And it helps to reset the parasympathetic side of the nervous system. It only happens in animals after they are safe. I'm sure you've seen like the gazelle running from the cheetah, right?
Yeah.
And they escape. And they do not run straight to their therapist. They just shake it off and go about their happy gazelle life.
I'm done.
They are not
gazelle therapist.
So, I mean, that's what happens. But people don't respond that way, right?
I see like 2 gazelles sitting on a couch. One's legs are crossed, the other one's got glasses on and a little notepad on her lap. Gazelle therapy with Ericka Thomas.
That's right. That's right. But human beings would do the same thing. We would shake if we were being chased by a wild animal and escaped. We would shake it off. We would let ourselves shake it off. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But our stress now is not life or death for the most part. And so we just tighten it down. We just lock it down and freeze it in the body. So that is another way to kind of give yourself an out. And a practice like that can, again, kind of rewire the brain to say, hey, oh yeah, okay, we're good now. We're good now. There's a shake, and then stop the shake, and then I'm in control, and we're good to go.
Who would have guessed that Taylor Swift Shake It Off was really what we needed to hear?
It's true.
Don't tell anybody that I listened to that song. We'll kill you all.
Okay. That's what editing is for,
in the closet.
Lyndsay.
I'm in the closet about my love for Taylor Swift. All right.
Okay.
A love-hate relationship with that little skinny thing.
Your secret is safe.
Yeah, that into all my listeners, because I don't edit, I mean, unless there's a big snafu. And maybe Taylor Swift is a big snafu. We'll have to see.
No.
So when it comes to what you do in your coaching, can you quickly chit chat about that? Because I think that's kind of a little bit of an important thing that you do in life.
Yes. Yes. So what I am doing is taking all of this stuff we've been talking about today and integrating it into a framework. And you've mentioned multiple times this idea of navigation, right? Using a compass and navigation. And so I've designed it that way because often people feel lost. Like they're not quite sure what direction to go themselves. And so, that's why we hire coaches, but sometimes coaches are human beings too. And coaches themselves are also lost. And so so what I've done is put this together in a framework designed around that compass to help people understand a trauma informed framework that you can apply to any kind of movement, any kind of format, pretty much any movement that you're doing, and with the intention to recover some resilience from stress, tension, and trauma. So in order to help people get started on that, they can find my free guide to holding space. That's one of the things that it's designed for fitness professionals, but honestly, holding space is something that we do for each other all the time. And it's a really important piece of co-regulation. And I feel like every individual should know how to do it because we need to be in connection with each other. So you can find that free guide on my website at savagegracecoaching.com. And you'll hear all about it on my podcast because we're going through piece by piece and bringing in some special guests to explain in depth what we're talking about when we're talking about being trauma informed.
And I think that's a wonderful way to close because I know that this trauma-informed approach to care has kind of turned into a little bit of a bumper sticker. And I'm the first one to use it use the bumper sticker on the show because I use it all of the time because it's something that I was never introduced to in my pain care and in chronic pain management and in trauma and in things, that I've dealt with psychologists because I've done CBT forever and I've done all of the things. But that trauma, we all think that it has to be this massacre that you watched on some crazy true crime. It does not, guys. It does not. Don't belittle anything that's happened to you that you may or may not even know to support what you were saying, Ericka. Like you had trauma from when you had your teeth, messed around when you were a kid. And that things that happen to us, we don't realize that it's all being implanted in our brain and it's all slowly being put into our bodies. And I've mentioned the book many times on the show, The Body Keeps the Score, but it definitely supports a lot of what Ericka was talking about today. But thank you so much for this because it's nice to hear all of the things that I still need to work on. But it's good because it's a healthy way of working on it instead of a shameful way of working on things. Because I think a lot of what we're faced with, especially as women in the chronic pain community or in trauma communities and what have you, is that there's so much shame and so much guilt that comes with some of the things that we've been through. So we decide to not deal with them and not talk about them.
Yeah, it is really important to remember you're not broken. Nobody is broken.
Yeah.
You and your body are doing the best that you can with what you have, with where you are. And it's brilliant, really. I mean, the human body is a beautiful machine and a miracle maker, really. So I really want to thank you for having me on, Lyndsay. It's truly an honor to talk to you.
Well, thank you. Well, and it's a ditto, babe, because, I'm bringing people like you to listeners because, what one of the things that we do here is try to bring amazing people that think in this way, that approach their bodies and their care and their brain and their loved ones and their relationships and their work and all of that in this intentional, loving way where it's okay, guys. It's okay. We've all been through it. We all have. So we're not two people that are sitting here we've been through this and what have you. Everybody's been through something and everybody's affected by stuff. And it can end up in physical pain. It can end up in all kinds of different things. in stressors and the way we respond to things that happen to our lives, the way that we're disorganized or overly organized. I'm in that the latter category, and all of these different responses that we do and our coping mechanisms that we do to get through, instead of really focusing on the magic and the miracle that is our body. And I think that you really nailed that today for us. So I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Lyndsay.
Thank you. You are exclusively invited to share this magical and miraculous VIP pain journey together. Let's get to the heart of how to heal with you by my side. Please follow the Pain Game Podcast wherever you digest your podcast content. We will be there. Visit us on thepaingamepodcast.com and follow us on all the socials. Thanks for listening, my little VIPs. Catch you on the other side.